Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. On behalf of the Classical Arts Club Sangam, I welcome you all to witness an enlightening evening. Experts in both Carnatic and Hindustani music, Dr. Lakshmi Sreeram would be presenting a lecture demonstration titled Uttar Dakshin. She will be explaining the concept and presentation of raga in both Hindustani and Carnatic music. This lecture demonstration is a part of the City NCPA demonstration series. City NCPA initiative primarily focuses on the age-old Guru-Shishya tradition. Their primary initiatives include support to gurus, scholarship to young musicians to support talented amateurs, introducing music training to school children, City NCPA Adi Anand Festival. In addition to the above, interactive sessions are conducted at the NCPA and various educational campuses to spread awareness among the youth about Indian heritage. I would request Dr. Lakshmi Sreeram to start the presentation.
Let me at the outset thank NCPA for this, for inviting me to do this. I want to thank all of you for coming out here. Thank my wonderful accompanying artists, co-artists. Manar Koil Balaji is a senior Mridangam Vidwan. Sri Vidya Iyer is an excellent violinist. Sri Sainath Ghuri is a tabla artist trained in Pune mostly, and he is now in Madras happily for us. I'll be talking about raga in the two traditions, how we think of raga, how raga is talked about, and presentation. Now, raga is an ancient concept. We find references to it in treatises, and perhaps the earliest definition is in the 8th century Brihadeshi, where Matanga Muni, he speaks of raga as Yoyam Dhvani Visheshastu Swara Varna Vibhushitaha Ranjako Janachittanam Ragav Katito Budhaihi. This is a very well-known verse about raga. The gist of it is that it is a dhvani vishesha. It's a special kind of sound. Swara varna vibhushitaha, decorated by swara and varna. What varna is an ancient concept. But the most significant part of this verse is Ranjako Janachittanam, that which pleases, delights the listeners. Janachittanam Ranjakaha. Now, why this was said in that context is also because there was another kind of music called Gandharva, whose purpose was not, all music is supposed to delight, right? Music is something that is a pleasure to listen to, good music. But there was another kind of music called Gandharva, whose purpose was ritualistic. It was, if you rendered it properly, and if you heard it rendered properly, it was supposed to give you adrishta, that is punya of some kind. But raga is not of that kind. Raga is very much for pleasing the audience, hopefully pleasing yourself also. And raga has evolved since then, and for the last three centuries or more, it has come to its present form. And we may say that raga really does not only belong in classical music. Raga is used in film music, it is used in devotional music, bhakti, sangita, even folk music, there are ragas. So what is, why classical, Carnatic and Hindustani music are called classical is that raga is the main focus of these two traditions. Where film music or bhakti sangeet may use a raga or two to make a song, the purpose, the whole intent of a Carnatic performance or a Hindustani performance is to present ragas. And what is a raga? I'll go into it a little later. So, the presentation, today's presentation, I have divided it into three parts. First, I'll begin with a very short incomplete renditions of raga, Puriya Dhanashri and Pantuvarali. They are equivalent ragas or corresponding ragas in the sense they share the same scale. And based on that, I will try to talk about, explore what makes for the difference, fundamental differences in the listening experience. When we listen to Carnatic or Hindustani music, it's so different. The listening experience is very different. The melodic texture is very different. So my first part, I'll try to talk about 2 or 3 points that might account for this startling difference between, both of them are concerned with raga, both of them use tala, but the experience is very different. So what are the reasons? Some of them I'll discuss. The second part, I will talk about the idea of raga. How do we talk of raga? What is the identity of a raga? Here we will see more similarities than differences in the two traditions. The concept of raga is pretty similar across both traditions. How it is expressed, that is different. How it comes across, how it is translated in practice, that is different. But the conceptually they are both, there are a great deal of similarities between in the idea of raga. And the third part, I will present one raga in Hindustani and one raga in Carnatic, and I'll talk about the presentation where there are both similarities and differences. So that's the broad structure of my presentation. So I will now start with rag Puriya Dhanashri, and I'll follow it up with Pantuvarali. As I said, it will be a very short, and I'm not going to sing the complete composition, and a very brief badhat, as it is called, or improvisation. Similarly with Pantuvarali. And then I will talk about a few reasons why to account for the very different melodic textures. This is in Chaptal, a cycle of 10 beats. La pa ma pa ma ga re ga ma pa da shiva shiva. Ni ni sa ra ni pa da ma pa ga ma ga re ga ma pa da shiva shiva. Shiva 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 yana raga. So that was Puriya Dhanashri and Panturali. Both of them, as I said, have the same scale. It is the same set of notes in the Aroha and Avroha. Both of them, they presented a very different listening experience, as you know, that is Carnatic and Hindustani music. So what goes? The first thing is, of course, the aspect of laya. It's not an exaggeration to say that laya underlies all music. That is one of the, just as you have melody, swara, but laya is as important in determining the feel of the music, whether the music works, you know. Just in terms of the scale of laya, they are very different, Hindustani and Carnatic. And when I speak of Hindustani, I only want to talk about khayal. There's the other great tradition of Dhrupad, to which also most of what I'm saying will apply, but I'm not talking specifically about it. I am trained in khayal and I'm only talking about khayal. Instrumental music is another tradition which has its own presentation format. As I said, I'm specifically talking of khayal. So the Vilamba Madhya Druta, the three layas, is again in a very ancient idea, you know, in our tradition. And it's applied in many contexts, not just music. We speak of it in both Carnatic and Hindustani music, but what is Vilamba in Carnatic music would probably be only Madhya in Hindustani, in khayal. We don't go to that level of that kind of movement. It is not core Carnatic music. I mean, we can sing that, and we do sing that sort of something like that, maybe at the tail end pieces. But core Carnatic music is the Vilamba, the kind of Vilamba that we find in Hindustan, in khayal, we do not find in. So just that the scale is very different. But apart from that, the more important thing is that in Hindustani music, in khayal, there is a gradual movement from Vilambit to Drut in a presentation. So when just that makes for a phrase in khayal. Everything is slow, right? Rega. Here also there is a complex, it's not just rega, it's ga, re, ga. There's a touch of ga, which is at a different speed. So I'm talking about laya. So, ga, re, ga. Now what happens? And then it gradually builds up. As we progress into the presentation, it goes very fast. But in Carnatic music, all three speeds coexist in every phrase. Now what is Gama, Ma, Pa, Da, Pa, Pa, right? Now an instrumentalist will know, even when we say Ma, Pa, Da, Pa, it seems ta, 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 they are all in same speed. But actually the Ma, that Ma, is not just a Ma. Gabama, that's what is happening. So that's a third speed there. Gabama, Gapamappadapa, ta-na-na-na, ta-da-dee-da-da. Now, this is the core, the very essence of the Carnatic idiom. That every musically meaningful phrase has all three speeds in it. Now, sometimes in the middle, we do stop on a note or so, but that is usually somewhere in the middle, and that's kind of creating a dynamics. But we would never start a raga with we don't do that. And if I may say this with due respect and with utmost respect for his vidvat and musicianship, Mahavidwan Balamurali Krishna, he questioned this idiom, and that is why his music sounds a little different and not always accessible to all of us. This is the sort of thing he does. He stops on notes, and it's very tuneful, amazing tonality and all that. But that is not how. That is not the Carnatic idiom, really. So when we also hear criticism of Carnatic music, especially from the Hindustani world, that in Carnatic music there is no ठहराव. That's the word they use. सुरों पर ठहर के आप गाते नहीं हो. You don't stop on, you don't enjoy, or you don't, go leisurely into suras. No, we don't. Yeah, we don't. And that's how it is. But that doesn't mean that, this music does not, it offers as sublime moments as Hindustani music. So the first thing is to accept, yes, Carnatic music does not have the kind of progression, melodic progression that Hindustani music does. The essence of Carnatic idiom is that the three styles, the three speeds, kalam, moonu kalam we say. And that is reflected, for instance, in the fact that all our beginning practices, Sarali Varshe, Janta Varshe, Varnam, everything we practice in three columns. The trikalam, we have to get it into our throat or into the instrument, into your fingers. And that proportion, how you construct each phrase and the kind of proportion that exists between its various parts in terms of the laya, that is very important. And it's important in Hindustani also. In Hindustani also there is some variation of speed, but not to the extent we have in Carnatic music. So that's the first thing about laya. And this thing about the three speeds existing in every phrase is actually something that was told me by my guru, V.V. Subramaniam, Nadiyogi V.V. Subramaniam. And he in turn heard it from G.N. Balasubramaniam, Mahavidwan G.N. Bala. And that was what he told my guru. He said, Mani, in Carnatic music, நம்ம சங்கீதத்தில் எல்லா ஒரு இதுலேயும் 3 காலமும் இருக்கு. There are 3 speeds in every, and that was his finding. And this is not trivial. You see, self-reflexive awareness of what our music is, that is not trivial. Now when somebody tells it, you say, yeah, that's how it is. But to become aware of it is not something you can take for granted. So that's the first thing about why the two offer very different, the laya, the general scale of laya, and the fact that every phrase in Carnatic music, we don't have just vilamba, or just madhya, or just dhruta. The 3 of them come together. The second is, of course, the kind of accompaniment that we have. In Khayal, in Dhrupad it's very different. In Khayal, the tal is, the tal cycle is maintained by the tabla player. So in this case, for instance, dhi, na, dhi, na, ti, na, dhi, na, dhi. That's a sum. Cycle of 10 beats. we do not keep the talam in our hand. The tal is, the tal cycle, the reference is the tabla. Whereas in Carnatic music, the reference for the talam is the person putting the, I have to say putting the talam. Talam podradhu, so translate into English, it's putting the talam or performing the, showing the tala kriya. So this is the reference. So now that I have, there is an external reference here, the mridangam player does not have to play just one teka as happens in the tabla. The tabla for most part keeps that teka. There is no improvisation for most of the time. Once we get into the thick of things for bol bant and all that, yes, of course there is some, but not to the extent that the mridangam. Mridangam and the role of the mridangam in how you hear Carnatic music. The listening experience of Carnatic music is to a large extent because of the mridangam accompaniment. And we call it the mridangist poshikyaradu. You know, he nourishes everything that the melody. He nourishes the melody. So if whatever we are singing or she's playing, he will anticipate. He will know the compositions. A mridangam player will know compositions. He will know every sangati or the variations of the compositions. So he will know how the presentation will go, how to anticipate, how to make something more beautiful. So that is why, that is another very important reason why Carnatic music, see, it sounds much more busy, right? Carnatic music sounds very busy, lots of things happening. But Hindustani music, it's very relaxed. Things pick up after quite some time. And that's one of the main reasons is also the mridangam accompaniment. And the violinist also is, unlike the harmonium player, is very low key. Right? Violinist is not, the violin player is not low key. They will also, so the style of accompaniment is also a very important reason why the two sound so different. And of course compositions, we say, right? Hindustani compositions are very small, very short. Whereas we have big compositions. And that's how it is. It's a strength of Carnatic music that we have brilliant compositions. And a concert may have just a few compositions presented for themselves, which never happens in Hindustani music. In Khayal, you always have a badhat. Because you can't just present a composition, it will get over in 2 minutes. So that's how it is. So it's mostly improvisation oriented, whereas this, there is a balance between composition and improvisation. So that is the, those are 2 or 3 things that account for the fundamental differences in the listening experience, the melodic texture. Another very important aspect, of course, is gamaka. And as I said, that laya is also a gamaka. That is what we call, that is it's called NOC. Hindustani music also is full of gamakas. It's not without gamaka, but I would say the variety of gamakas is lesser and it's mostly mean oriented. That is what we call jaru. That gradual, this dragging movement from one swara to another. Now this is also there, meaned or jaru is also there in Carnatic music. But in some ragas it's very essential. That movement in Sahana and other ragas. So meaned is there or jaru is there, is very much omnipresent in both ragas, in both traditions. But in Hindustani music, that meaned is more leisurely and it's stronger. Its presence is definitely stronger. And there are other gamakas in Hindustani music also, but in Carnatic music, the one of the most important gamakas is the Kampita. Oh, that shake. The swara is actually ga. That is a swara. We say ga, that's where it is. But when we say ga, that pitch cannot be heard at all. But we call it ga because it's the shake between ma and ri. But again, it's not like ma, ri, ma. It's not that also, right? It is a very specific, well-defined movement. Gamaka is not just any shake. You shake it anyway, that doesn't become a meaningful gamaka in Carnatic music. It is a very stylized, very specific movement. That is Kampita. And Kampita is very pronounced in Carnatic music. So, gamaka, the fact that the fact that Carnatic music has more varieties of gamaka, and secondly that whereas in Hindustani music it's a meaned, the pull, the note, the gradual movement from one note to another, that is the predominant one, and for us it's probably the Kampita which is most prominent for Carnatic music. That also accounts for the fundamental melodic textures. So now I move into the second part of my presentation where I'm going to talk about how raga is understood. How do we talk about raga? What is a raga? What constitutes its identity in Carnatic and Hindustani music? And here, as I said, it's mostly very similar. Now, raga, we can think of it as a framework of rules. But the most important thing about this framework is that you cannot entirely spell it out. You cannot entirely list, okay, this raga is, so these are all the rules. That is impossible. But the fact is that it is a framework of rules. And it has to be grasped by listening to it in various contexts, learning compositions, practicing it with a guru, and so on. And finessing the raga is a lifelong experience. Now, one of the fundamental things about this framework, very basic level of rules, is what notes the raga uses. So, every raga in both Hindustani and Carnatic music admits some notes and does not admit others. Both are equally important. You should use these swaras in this raga and you should not use other swaras in that raga. So to take a very popular example of a very popular raga, Mohanam and Bhoop. Gapari, sari gapari, sagari paga, da pasada paga, da pagari, sari da, sari gaga, sari gapada sa, sada pagari sa. This is Mohanam. Re paga paga pare gare sare gare sare da sa re ga ma. This is not allowed. Ma. So at a very fundamental level of rule, if you sing Mohanam or Bhoop, you cannot sing Ma. Or you cannot sing Sari, this variety of Re. You may all know that we speak of 7 swaras, but 5 of them have varieties, right? 1 variety each. So in an octave, in a saptak or sthai, we have 12 note positions or swarasthanas. And every raga uses some of these note positions and does not use the others. So Bhoop or Mohanam use 5 swaras. It's called Audava Ragam. Some ragas may use 6, some may use 7, some may use a combination of, in ascending notes, some only 5 are used. In descending phrases, the ascending phrases can only admit 5 notes. Descending phrases will admit 7. And all these kind of combinations is there. For instance, we have Multani. Ni sa ga ma pa ni da pa ma pa da ma pa ga ma. So the Aroha ascending descending is sa ga ma pa ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. In Carnatic music, we can think of, say, Mukhari. Mukhari has nothing to do with Multani except the mu. Re mama, sari mama, re ma pa ni da pa ma re ta re da sari mama, re ma pa ni da sa ni da pa ma ga re sa re ma pa da sa. That is 5. Sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Avaroha is 7. Now, even when I sang these ragas, you could make out. So the concept of Aroha Avaroha is common to both. And some ragas, we can't even talk about Aroha Avaroha because it's too complex. When we say, for instance, Mohanam or Mohanam is out of about 5 notes, or let's say to take Multani, sa ga ma pa, so re sa ri ga. So re is not allowed in ascending phrases. So after re you cannot sing ga. That is what it means to say that re is not in the Aroha. So in some ragas, in some phrases a note will be Arohi, in some phrases it will not be Arohi. So that kind of complexity is there. So these ragas cannot really be talked about in terms of Aroha Avaroha. Sa re ga ma ga sa ni da ni pa. Natakurunji. Re ga ma ga sa. So ma ga sa. So re is not there in the Avaroha, right? Ma ga sa. Ni da ma ga sa ni da ni sa re ga ma ga sa. Now, sa ni da ma ga ma pa ga ri sa pa ga ri sa. In this phrase, re is there. So is re there or not? So it's complex. Or in God Malhar in Hindustani music, re ga ma ma re pa. So re pa ma ga ma ga re ga sa re ga ma ma ga ga sa re ga ma re pa ma pa da ni sa da ni pa ma ga ma re. So re ga ma re pa. So this kind of vakratva, or this complexity is there in both traditions. Some ragas can defy being associated with any Aroha Avaroha. But though we speak of Aroha Avaroha, no raga can be really captured in Aroha Avaroha. So even though I say sa ga ma pa ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa, this does not capture Multani in its entirety. Ma pa ga ma ga ma no Aro will give you this phrase. Magareza. The re. Mapagareza. You cannot describe this re. You have to hear it and sing it. Mapani da pa ma da ma pa ma ga ma ga ni sa ma ga ga sa. That re is very, very little, very, very small, but that much has to be there. Now, we say this as if you just sing the swaras, Dani da magari sa, these are the swaras. Ma pada sa ri ra ra. So this is of course the aspect of gamaka, how the notes have to be linked in phrases. So Aroha Avaroha is just a pedagogical tool. And traditionally, my gurus, for instance, never told me about Aroha Avaroha. They won't even speak about the swaras in the raga. You just teach compositions. You listen to the raga and sing it. Aroha Avaroha is a modern, contemporary pedagogical tool with severe limitations. But they are there in both traditions. These days, everybody talks about Aroha Avaroha. So then how do we account for these complexity, right? We say that a raga has these swaras, but it is not just swaras, it's how it's combined in phrases. So there are some ways, how do we talk about it? How do we describe it? In Hindustani music, we have this concept of Vadi Samvadi. We can say it is there in Carnatic also, but I don't think so. Vadi Samvadi, some people say we have it in Carnatic also, but I really don't think we do. Not the way we have it in Hindustani. So, what is a Vadi? Vadi is the most important swara in the raga. That is how it is defined. And Samvadi is the next important swara. And the rest are Anuvadi. And giving a very different meaning to the word Vivadi, they say those swaras that are not there in the raga are Vivadi, which is not really the original meaning of Vivadi. I will go into Vivadi later. So Vadi, Samvadi are, so every raga, we are told that this is the most important note, this is the next important note, and you have to highlight them. But how do you highlight it? That you can only learn by exposure to the raga. So, to give an example, we have 3 or 4 such sets of ragas which actually share the same scale. The scale is identical, but the ragas are different. In Hindustani music, I am first demonstrating. So one such is Marva, Puriya and Sohani. I will only talk about Marva and Puriya because Sohani is very different. I will tell you why. But Marva and Puriya are both very similar in the sense they are very gambhir. They are very they are very sedate ragas, whereas Sohani is a very light, quick raga. You don't, sing it very slowly. It's what is called Chanchal Prakriti. Whereas both Marva and Puriya are dignified. And the scale is this. Sohani, as you would all know, it's Hamsanandi. The Hamsanandi scale. Sa, sa, ri, ga, ma, da, ni, sa, ni, da, ma, ga, re, sa. This is the scale. Now when you highlight dha and ri, it is Marva. Sa, da, ma, ga, re, re, ni, da, re, sa. This is Marva. Ga, sa ni re, re ga ma da sa ni re ni da ma ga re ni da ma ga re ga re ni da re sa. This is Marva. Now you shift the Vadi Sambadi to Ga and Ni. Ga re sa ni da ni. There is the notes are all the same. Ma ga ni re sa. So where it was re in Marva, ni re sa ni ne ma da re sa ni da ni re ga ma da ga ma ga. So dha is only that much. Unlike in Marva, which is a very bright and powerful dha, ni ma da ga ma ga ni ma ga ni re sa. This is Purya. The difference between these two, one of the things is of course the Vadi Samvadi, but how you highlight it, the phraseology, that is all something you again get from your Guru and by listening. So Vadi Samvadi is only a small attempt to account for the differences between the two ragas. Now another pair like this is Des and Tilakam. Though Arovruk is slightly different, they sound very alike, you know. This is Des. Re ma ga re pa ma ga re ga ni sa. Now re pa ma ga sa re ga sa ni. This becomes Tilakamud. If you listen to this, both I'll sing two compositions in these two different ragas. They'll sound pretty similar. Both are taranas. Dena tadim tadanim, dena tadim tadanim, dena tadim tadanim, tare danim, tarani, derena, 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 dena tadim tadanim, dena tadim. Tanum tanana dere na tadare tadare dani dere na tadare dan na dere dani tunge de dani ton tanana tadare dan na dere dani tunge de dani ton tanana tadare dani tanum tanana tanum tanana tanum That's the difference. Tilak Kamod and Des. Now, in Carnatic music, we have a pair like this, Darbar and Nayaki. So Nayaki, it's a very strong dha. And the movement Rima pada pa da ni da pa ma pa da pa da ni da ri ga ri sa ni da pa ma ri ga ga ri sa ri ma pa da ni pa. So the structure, Aro Abro structure is the same, but the Gamaka actually it is, and the laya of the Raga itself. This is Darbar. This is Nayaki. And this is again something I often hear from my Hindustani friends, that we have ragas like this, same scale, different ragas. Do you have that in Carnatic music? And actually in Hindustani music it's not just one, or there are, to my knowledge at least, there are 3 or 4 such groups of ragas which have the same scale but the ragas are different. But what is the point of this whole thing? That the same set of swaras are given different treatment. And that is there across Carnatic music and Hindustani music. This is just an extreme example, right? The same scale but different ragas. But we have, throughout both the traditions, ragas which have the same notes but the treatment is very different. So in Carnatic music, for instance, Pamagarisa. This is the swaras, right? Shankarabharan swaras, major scale. Pamagarisa. This is just the notes. Now, how is it sung in different ragas? Pamagarisa nidanisa. This is Shankarabharan. Pamagarisa. So the ma is very little, re is also very short. Pa ma ga ri sa, pa ma ga ri sa ri ri. The same swaras, but it's completely different raga. Pa pa ma ga ri ri, pa 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 ma ga ri ri, pa ma ga ri ri ma ga ri, pa ma ga ri, pa ma ga ri sa ri ri. This is Arabi. There's another raga, Begada. Pamagarisa, da pamagarisa. So in everything, across ragas, the same pamagarisa, different shades. The notes, how they occur, the gamakas, everything. It's a great deal of subtle nuances. Pama magagari sarigari. The sama. The sari mama magagari sarigasari. Pamagamari. So in all this, pama, in some ragas a ma will be bright and it will stand alone. In some it will be hanging from pa, so to say, so that it will derive its nourishment from pa, and there's just a glimmer of the ma. Most of the ma is in pa itself. Pa ma, there is a bright ma. Pa ma gari, pa ma. So the ma is barely heard. Actually the pitch will not even be there. The actual absolute pitch of ma will not be there, but the ma is there. Between the ma, pa and ga, there is a note that is ma. So see, this is another thing, that what is called Shruti differences, right? Though we speak of notes, depending on the raga, the pitch position itself will be subtly different. That's a position. It doesn't go there at all. So, though, as I said, we speak of aro, avro, there are swaras, but the raga, it's acknowledged in both traditions, is much more than just a combination of swaras. There's a great deal of nuancing, great deal of subtlety. Now, how do we some of the images that are employed when we talk of ragas in both traditions. We talk of ghana and naya, for instance, in Carnatic music. Ghana, naya, deshya is a triad. I don't want to talk about deshya because the criterion for classification is different. Ghana and naya are about the melodic character of the raga. I'm here talking about how the raga is imagined. Raga is the images that are used for when we talk of raga. Because actually, as Veena Dhanamma said many decades ago, raga is not something to talk about at all. She made fun of it. Oh, I believe they talk about ragas. Ragas is not something to talk about. But we all love to talk also. So some of us lesser human beings, we do talk about ragas. So here the thing is, we have a great variety of ragas in both Hindustani and Carnatic music. So how do we talk about this variety? So one such is Ghana Naya in Carnatic music. So I just spoke about Arabi. Da pa 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 ma ga ri 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 pa ma pa ri sa ri sa da sa sa da ri 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 sa ri ma ga ri ma pa da pa ma sa sa da ri ri sa da ma ga ri ri sa ri sa sa da da pa pa ma ga ri ri sa da ri sa ma ga ri pa pa ma ga ri ma sa ma ya ni ki tagu maatladane da pa 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 ma ga ri ri ma ma pa ma ga ri ri da da pa ma ga ri ri sa ri ma sa ma ya ni ki da ri sa da sa da pa pa da pa ma ga ri ri sa ri ma sa ma ya da pa pa ma ga ri ri pa ma pa pa ma ga ri ri da pa ma ga ri ri ma sa ma ya ni ki tagu maatladane. Now what Ghana raga is, there are again some what is called matabheda. People talk about it in different ways, but one way to talk about Ghana raga is generally understood as this re re sa sa re re ma ga re re sa re sa sa sa. So this is what is called a janta prayoga. Re re, though it's a repetition of re re, actually there is a gamaka re re. The lower note is touched in the second re re. Papa magari ri magari ri. So this kind of janta prayogas are there in these ragas that gives them a ghana quality. What is ghana? Ghana is dense. So the melodic character of these ragas is that we have phrases densely clustered together. That is one of the images of a raga. You see, what I'm trying to say here is that we have a variety of ragas in both Hindustani and Carnatic music, and we should really be trying to reappropriate some of the categories that we have articulated in the tradition and try to understand our ragas. Some ragas are best handled in some ways. Some ragas may be handled in different ways, but the thing is you should be aware. You have an understanding, an awareness of what are the possibilities. So the other is Naya. Now, this is Pamagari Sari. This is Arabic. Pamara, Pamara. This is the same notes as Arabic, but handled very differently. This is the movement. It's like a curve. So this kind of ragas are also there, and there are some ragas which can be handled in different ways. Some Maharagas, Rakti Ragam as we call it, Shankarabaranam, Kalyani. There are myriad ways in which we can handle them. We also have a very important category of Melakarta ragas, in the sense, see, Melakarta is a theoretical contribution, and I don't have the time to go over the idea of Melakarta, but essentially Melakarta is a combination of 7 swaras, mathematical combination of 7 swaras, and given certain parameters, certain conditions, the 16th century, 17th century Venkata Makhin, he proposed that there are 72 such scales in Carnatic music. That is what we use. And because of that, many scales were there which were not, which were just proposed as scales. Actually, originally ragas come first, and Melakartas are ways to classify them. And then you turn it on its head. You propose a scale first, and then try to create a raga out of it. And that really forms another category of ragas. Many of these popular ragas like Charukeshi, Vachaspati, and Sarasangi, even Sanmendra Madhyamam, these are all, they first came as a scale without all the complexities and nuances of the raga. So therefore, this Melakarta ragas form a separate category of ragas, in my opinion, because they don't have that history behind them. They don't have the nuancing. You just a group of swaras which you can handle any way you want. So that is, and we have very interesting melodies also because of that. I mean, very lovely melodies, but they're not half as interesting as a raga like Shankarabaranam, Bhairavi. And I'm not alone in saying this. Many musicians, musicologists believe that the ragas which are actually derived from Melakarta. Ragas didn't come first in this case. Who can say it's not beautiful? It's lovely. But it doesn't have the character of a Shankarabaranam or a Bhairavi. Because it is a set of notes which it's pretty much open to being handled. So there is a kind of freedom, but that therefore reduces the artistic effort involved in putting out that raga. And we have Vivadi ragas which are very beautiful, for instance, because of the Melakarta's scheme. What is a Vivadi? Vivadi is essentially dissonance. When two notes are dissonant, that is a Vivadi relationship. So by this Melakarta scheme, we have some ragas which are essentially incorporate Vivadi swaras. Like the first scale on the 72 Melakarta is Sarigama Padani Sa Sa. No, it's just a scale, so it's just a note. Sarigama Padani. This is the scale. So we have lovely ragas, interesting scales like Ganamurte Shri Krishna Venu Ganamurte Shri Krishna Venu Ganalola Tribhuvana Pala Pai Ganamurte. In Hindustani music, the idea of Melakarta never took deep roots. We have the idea of male thought, but luckily for Hindustani music, we did not take it very seriously. Mathematically, of course, 32 scales are possible. But Pandit Bhatkande, in the 20th century, he proposed only 10 thoughts, 10 males, and he said these are enough to account for the ragas prevalent at that time. So that's enough. He didn't go into a mathematical exercise of saying this is also possible, so let's try and get a raga out of it. He didn't do that. But so the idea of male, though it is there, it is not taken very seriously in Hindustani music. What is taken seriously is the idea of raganga. What is a raganga? Anga is part, right? So some major ragas, we identify some phrases of those major ragas, and other ragas which have those phrases are classified under that. It's essentially a classification system. So we have Yaman, Kalyan Raganga, we have Bilaval Raganga, Malhar, Kannada. Kannada is, you all would have heard Darbari Kannada. Now this ga, it's actually Komal Gandhar. Sariga, that is a Gandhar. But how you shake it is very typical of Kannada. It's low, it's a little lower than that ga. Sariga. So we have Naiki Kannada. Ga ma ni pa ga ma ni pa ma pa sa pa ni pa ma pa ga. So ga, just the presence of that ga makes it a Kannada Angraga. And there's an interesting story of Abhogi. Abhogi was taken from Carnatic music into Hindustani music. But what the Hindustani musicians at that time did was give it a Kannada ang, gave it a Kannada twist. And it's a very beautiful rag. It has its own character. Riga ma da ma ga ri sa ri ga sa ri da sa ri ga ma ga ri sa ma ga ri. This is how we sing it in Carnatic music. Ma da ma ga ri ga ma ga ri sa ri ga sa ri da sa ma da sa ri ga ma da sa sa da ma ga ri sa. When it went into Hindustani music, what we did was da sa re ga ma re Magari, Gamari, and we give that Kannada ang to it. Kunda Chapta. We have in Hindustani music we speak of Gambhir Prakriti ke rag like this. It's very Gambhir, right? You have to give it a very leisurely unfoldment. And there are others which are quicker. This ga, we call it Andolan. Sa re ga. No, another ga, the ga is Andolit also in Malhar. Re pa ga ma re, and that ga is higher. Ma pa ni re ma pa ni re da ni ni sa da ni pa na. That ga is higher. This is also a very Gambhir. And the notes are, there's Meend and Andolan. Gradual movement from note to note and then this shake. Then there are other ragas where we don't have this. It's called Khadasur. Re ma pa ga ma re sa re sa ma pa ni sa da pa da ma pa ga ma re pa ma pa ga ma re sa re ma. Sham Kalyan or Savani. Sa ga ma pa ga sa ga ma pa. We can't sing that. Savni we can't sing. Those kind of curvy movements are not allowed in Savni. So that is what is called Khadasur Karag. And then there is a very interesting category of ragas called Jod ragas, where two ragas are brought together. It will be very different, but they are brought together and you explore them using the different angas. A very famous Jod raga is Basant Bahar. It was immortalized in the film Baijo Babra, I think. Khet ki Gulab Juhi. It's a beautiful composition. So, this is a coming together of Basant and Bahar. Very different ragas. But there is one common phrase. Sama, ga. This Sama, just Sama. Only this phrase is common to both of them. And that is where it is जोड़ा गया है उसको. इन दोनों रागों को ऐसे जोड़ते हैं. तो how you weave in and out of the two ragas is very interesting. Incidentally, Basant has the same scale as Purya Dhanashri, which I sang earlier. There's another rag called Gauri, another called Purvi, which have almost the same scales. They're all different ragas. This is Basant. This is also Basant. All Basant. Now what happens is Bahar, Samagamani Dhani Dhani Sada Pagamani Dhani Sarani Samada Sani Maga Pagamare. These are very two different ragas, but some ragas which are very close to each other also are brought together in Jod ragas. But I have to be going to the third part of my presentation, which is how the ragas are presented in the two traditions. In both we have compositions and improvisation, right? We call it Urupadi, we call it Kriti or composition, whatever the composition, and Manodharmam or Kalpita Kalpana Sangeetam in Carnatic music. In Hindustani music, it's Bandish and Badhat or Rag Vistar. We have the Bandish and Rag ki Badhat hoti hai. And both revolve around compositions, right? The composition is there and improvisation is there. And in Carnatic music, we have a variety of compositions. In Hindustani also, in Khayal also we have two or three types of compositions that we use. We use Tarana, for instance. But the thing is, compositions are much more elaborate in Carnatic music. We all know that. And therefore, there is this thing that, in Carnatic music is all about. I've heard people say that it's just bhajans, you just sing compositions. You have to listen to a concert. Right? There is a fair amount of manodharma or kalpita, but it is definitely not to the extent we have in Khayal. That is true, because Khayal compositions are so small. See, we can also maybe just sing a very short composition and do a lot of manodharmam. That is possible in Carnatic music, but we have beautiful compositions, and it's very satisfying to sing them, to listen to them, especially with the mridangam accompaniment and violin accompaniment. So Carnatic music presents a different a concert presents a different balance between improvisation and composition. That is true, but it's the fact is that there are great compositions in Carnatic music which are worthy of simply being presented by themselves. We can just sing a composition without any improvisation. We do that in Carnatic concerts, whereas that is unthinkable in Khayal. In both, and as far as improvisation goes, both of them have these elements, alap or alapana. Using the words of the composition, we have Neraval in Carnatic music, and we have Bol alap, Bol tan, Bol bant in Hindustani, in Khayal. We have Tan in Khayal, not in Drupad though. In Khayal we have Tans, which are fast movements which are actually part of the alapana itself in Carnatic music. And then we have Swara Prastaram, which is a very strong aspect of Manodharma in Carnatic music. And Swara Prastara or Sargam is optional in Khayal. Not everybody sings Sargam. But essentially these are the elements in both. But the thing is, in Carnatic music, there is a certain order. You sing the alapana, then you sing the kriti, Then you sing, take one line, you sing a Neraval and then Swara Prastara. There is an order. And there is a role for the accompanist. How the accompanist, the violinist also pitches in. There is some kind of jamming between this, between here and between all. So the role of the accompanist also is immensely more, what should I say, it's heightened in Carnatic music. In Khayal also, therefore you can't say, no, they have no, it is a very crucial role, but they don't, what should I say, come into their own as much as it happens in Carnatic music. And in Khayal, except for some expectations that you start with an alap and keep with alap for some time into the presentation, after that it's pretty much up to you what you want to do, whether you want to sing a bol alap there, or you want to sing bol band there, or you want to sing a short taan there. So there is some freedom there in the ordering of the improvisational aspects. So I will quickly present kalyani in Carnatic music. See, alapana, it's a very big topic to talk about. So I'll just quickly say, alapana, what we do is, we have to, alapana is always before the composition. We finish the alapana before the composition, like in Drupad. And we introduce the raga with the phrase. Now that, Vidwans, my guru and all, they say, how are you going to start the raga? How are you going to start the alapana? With what phrase? So considerable thought goes into that. How you want to start it. Sometimes it may also be on the spur of the moment, but Vidwans, performers, do spend time thinking about, okay, how should I start the alapana? Something new, something novel, but yet very clearly belonging to that raga. And I have heard, for instance, Sanjay Subramaniam and all start ragas a completely different way, but there's no doubt that it is that raga. So, Kalyani, for instance, we proceed by PDs, phrases, right? If you sing this, Kalyani. So something like this will be an introduction to the raga. And then there's a gradual, and this need not start in any one position. Like, Khayal, we always start lower, in the mantra. We can start an alapana like that also, depending on the position of the piece, how the performer wants to present it. So once you introduce the raga, then it's a gradual development if you're going to give a major, elaborate treatment to the raga. Now the shaken ga, it's not ga ma ga, it's not ga ma ga, very important in Kalyani. So then we explore that note and zone into that note and develop many phrases around it. That's one way of doing it. Want to try? incorporate something like dance. And so on. What we do is we try to evoke different dynamics in the Alapana, and it's usually, if this is the main piece, it's more elaborate than what I did. And after the performer, the singer sings it, the violinist also essays the raga, after which we enter the composition. This is Muthuswami Dikshidhar composition in Mishra Chapu Talam. Mishra Chapu is a beat of a cycle of 7 beats, and I won't sing the entire composition. I'll just sing the Pallavi, the first part, then go to the line on which I'm going to be improvising Neraval, which is using the words of the composition, the line as such. And the important thing about Neraval is that the distribution of the words, how it goes. So in this case it is Devim Shakti Bijodbhava Matrakarna Sharirini. Now this is maintained, more or less. We can't, totally deviate from it, which we have to do in Khayal, which we do in Khayal. Khayal, we don't have to maintain how the bandish is constructed. When we're doing Bolalap, there's a great deal of freedom. And then we go into Swara Prastara. And you will see Neraval and Swara Prastara, there is alternating between the voice and the violin. Bhajare re chita balambika, bhajare re chita balambika, bhajare re chita balambika, bhajare re chita balambika, bhakta kalpa latika Shri bhajare re chita balambika. Please notice how the mridangam anticipates, accompanies. Shri Vagbhava Kutajada Chatureda Swarupinim Shri Vagbhava Kutajada Chatureda Swarupinim Shringara Kamarajodhava Sakala Vishwa Vyabini Devi Shakti Bijodbhava देवीं शक्ति बीजोद्भव मातृकार्ण शरीरिणीं देवीं शक्ति बीजोद्भव शक्ति बीजोद्भव मातृकार्ण शरीरिणी देवीं शक्ति बीजोद्भव. So there is a build up here from slow, that is relatively slow in Carnatic music. Good column, there is first column and then we speed it up. Speed it up in the sense just go twice or thrice. It's always, the lyre does not change. We don't change the tempo. We sing it in second speed or third speed. That's it. Devi Shakti Bijodhava Matrikala Sharirini Devi Shakti Bijodhava Matrikala Sharirini Devi. So now this is very important in Carnatic music. This is what is called Eduppu. Now this is Devi. 1, 2, 3, 4. Devi. Or 1, 2. Devi. And this we cannot change. Either the position in the talam or the melody itself. You can't sing Devi. Sometimes you can, but when you're doing the Neraval and Manodharma, when you're ending it, what is called Eduppu, you have to go and seamlessly get into this position. Devi. And you have to lead into that. You can't say Devi. You can't say Sani Devi. You don't do that. Mapadani Devi. Risa Ni Sani Sani Dani Dani Devi. Gari Ni Sani Sani Dani Dani Gari Gama Padani Devi. Sani Sadani Madani Dani Dapamani Dapama Padani Devi. Dapada Madapama Padamari Gari Sadi Gama Padani Devi. And this is all, of course, we practice a lot, but nothing is just, from memory or anything. It's all improvised. And then this Swaraprasthara has a lot of fireworks and lot of excitement is possible, which may be to the taste of some and not so much. But one interesting thing is what we call korvai, some mathematical patterns that we do, beginning from very simple ones like, and we have these basic jatis, which again is a very common concept across the tradition. We have 3s, 4s, 5s, 7s and 9s. These are standard jatis and our calculation based on this. Now I'm going to just do a small thing, very, very simple pattern. Actually a very simple korvai, though it might seem a little, very complex, but it can get 10 times more complex than this. And the thing is, because it is based on these patterns of 9s and 5s and 6s and 7s, the Mridangam player will also be able to anticipate to some extent, oh okay, so he's creating this pattern, and then they will also join it, and it all seems very, very something really complex going on, and it is quite complex. But this is another aspect of Carnatic presentation. When you do Swaraprasthara, this kind of mathematical patterns are incorporated, and as I said, it depends on the musician. Some people really love this sort of thing and do a great deal of it. Some of us don't like it so much, so we don't do much of that. So now I'll present quickly Rag Jhinjhoti. So here we start with a very short introductory alap, and then we launch into the bandish, the vilambit. We normally present 2 compositions in every raga, most of the time. Sometimes we may only present 1, but the main raga, the most elaborate pieces, we present at least 2, sometimes 3 compositions in different speeds. So first it will be a vilambit followed by a madhyalai or drut bandish. And then once the raga alapana, very short alapana, and then the bandish is sung, then we do alap. And then we also use bol alap, use the words of the composition. And then as it grows, once you're a little into the presentation, then it gets a little more dense. a cycle of 12 beats, ek tal. Now how the bandish is tied in tal is also very different in khayal, especially, not in Drupal. So the words are Mahadeva, Shankara, Jatajuta, Trinayana, there's something else. Now what happens is we don't say, so the beats are like this. Mahadev, we don't do that. That is every beat, we don't emphasize it. Mahadev. The sum, the first beat, you have to do it. The first beat has to be shown every time, almost every time at least, and there has to be the syllable falling on that beat. Otherwise, syllables move between the matras. Shankara the matra, the tal is going in its own, it's like this, and the bandish is just lightly skipping over it, the matras. Whereas in Carnatic music, there is a stapling in the tala cycle, right? The syllable and the mridangam strokes, there is a lot of coming together, whereas here it is not. So and alap also. There is a connection, there is a relation between what we are singing and the tal cycle, but it is not one on one. It's a cycle of 12 beats. We improvise and then take what is called the mukhada. In this case, it's Mahadeva, and show the sum. That is what khayal presentation is fundamentally about. Avartan bharo, you fill the avartan, take the mukhada and show the sum. And how different ways we do it, that is the charm of khayal singing. This is a 10th matra. Tempo here. Again, it depends on the gharana. Itna bhi nahi. Which something we don't do in Carnatic music. The laya is the same in a piece. The laya is retained. Here, again, as I said, depending on the gharana, most gharanas we increase a line. And this is where we do layer, playing with the rhythm. This tan. Follow it with a drut bandish and just sing the first line of the bandish. Akhiyan unso lagi, akhiyan unso lagi, akhiyan unso lag rahi mori yaari ab ro nahi aaye, akhiyan unso lagi, akhiyan unso lag. And इसमें भी बढ़त होता है. We can do आलाप तास. akhiyan unso akhiyan akhiyan unso lagi, akhiyan unso lagi, akhiyan unso lagi. So, as I said, the concept of raga, what it is, mostly there are great deal of similarities between the two traditions. The presentation elements are also the same. Basically, they're the same presentation elements. You have the composition and the various aspects of improvisation. But the texture, melodic texture is very different. Role of accompaniment is very different. But in all this, we have to worry about the raga rules, we have to worry about the presentation, the technicalities, you have to have the skills, you have to do it right. The thing is, we first started out with the thing of raga as being something that is janaranjaka. That's something supposed to give pleasure. It is about emotion. So where is emotion? Where is the affect? How raga affects you in all this? Oh, that we never lose sight of. Of course, we have to learn the ragas. We have to learn presentational skills, everything. But ultimately, unless what we call bhavam is there, it has to touch. I may do great, very skillful things. I may do, very difficult tan or very difficult korve. But if it doesn't touch you or the listeners, then obviously there is something lacking there. So the importance of bhava or bhavam is acknowledged in both traditions. My guru used to say, are you going to sing rag or rang? The idea of rang, you have to create color while maintaining all the grammatical discipline, presentational aspects. That is something that comes with age, with maturity, and that is why, raga musicians, to present a raga, it takes some maturity. According to some, my Deepak Raja, who is a very well-known musicologist, unless, or Dhondutai actually, he was quoting Dhondutai Kulkarni, a very great Jaipur Gayaki, Jaipur Gharana musician. She said, I believe that until you're 40 years old, you're just, struggling. You may be doing everything technically right. Your raga may be correct, but that extra element of bhava, that is difficult unless you have had some seasoning. And that is also why, we value the music of seniors. Buzurg jo hain, their music, there may be some problems with their voice, they may be a little infirm and all that, but the quality of their mastery over the raga and over the presentation, and it just flows. Yes, the voice may slip here or there, but what they deliver, what just comes out of them, that is something that younger musicians have to listen to. And that is why only in Indian classical music, I think, we had attached so much value. When Chemungudi Srinivas Iyer was 80 years old, he performed and he had full halls. Everybody acknowledged, yes, the Shruti is slipping every now and then, but still it was great music. So on this note, I would like to end the fact that despite, after all this is said and done, the intricacies of raga, the greatness of compositions, technicalities of presentational skills and all that, ultimately bhava remains central in both traditions. And it is also very difficult. Some people sing for years and they never get the bhava. That's also there. But that is something we never lose sight of, and the value of that is acknowledged in both traditions. So thank you very much for staying on. I'm sorry I overshot the time. And thank you again to NCPA and to Nandita for doing this, and to the student volunteers. And thanks again to my accompanists Balaji, Srividya, Sainath, and to Kirubai for the sound support, and Mohan for arranging all this. Thanks also to Vibha for helping me with the sound system, and thank you all very much for coming here and staying. Thank you.